Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribes and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign, in peace or battle honored, and this we count as gain, to hand unto our children a banner without stain. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty Nigeria may be blessed. That was the anthem in 1960. One part of that anthem, especially the second stanza, struck me. It says, to hand unto our children a banner without stain. Is the banner stained? So far, 62 years after, we beg God to help us build a nation where no man is oppressed, so that with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed. But post-independence, a new national anthem came, and that is what we use today.
Arise, O compatriots, Nigeria's call obey, to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
As Nigeria marks its 62nd independence anniversary, many will be checking to see if there is need or indeed any reason for celebrations. Reasons for pessimism are not hard to find. Major statistics for the economy, security, and human development paint a picture of a country in despair. Time was when the naira was stronger than the American dollar. Those were the days Nigeria didn't need a visa to travel to countries like UK. And there were also days where Nigeria's democracy was so strong. Those were those days. Those days when it was the days of valor, the days of plenty, the days of honor. Nigeria, 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 oh my country. Nigeria is 62 today. The poet and spoken word artist Dejige spoke about Nigeria, reminiscing on the good old days. Those days when trains would take you from Ibadan to Abeokuta, Ibadan to Lagos, and you pay 5 kobo, 25 kobo. Those days when 7 naira could fill the tank of your car. Those days when there was discipline, those days where there were bus stops, Nigeria will get better, right? Nigeria will get better. Let's listen to Dejige, the spoken word artist and a poet.
Can I verily bury this memory? Can I ever not rule over the days of innocence? I think they're gone. Noble ways of good old days in this land, I guess, disappeared with the grander pyramids of Kano. The acid rains that withered fertile fields of brotherhood in Jos, also killed compassion in the neighborhood of Lagos. Rails were built to connect cities and half of homes who lived apart, I was told. Children who had little to eat would await travelers in Ibadan with open arms and offerings of fruit and agidi, which they shared in elation to strangers from Owerri and Warri, weary and hungry on their journey to foreign lands, they later called home. In search of where it all began, I groped in the darkness of days at hand. My foresight went hazy, so I stumbled on my father's broken heart. Broken by stumbling blocks of unpaid pension and bonds inflicted by compatriots who made him queue in the sun to earn the peanut called pension. My father screamed as the pain grew sharper when the politicians mentioned this paid pension as an achievement of their government. So, for my hazy vision and the inadequate attention of my generation to the state of the nation, not asking the aging generation the direction to our destination, my father gave me a punishment to write an epistle on how it all began. His opening line threw me off balance. What does not belong to a man, he said, a man should not take, except a woman in marriage. If not that option, then it is corruption. Life is a riddle, my son. The land bled when Ovorawen was put in shackles. Heaven wept when Saruwiwa was laid to rest. Rest was his last word that sparked this unrest within me, that heroes of noble cause who have gone to rest may never rest in peace until this matter is laid to rest. My father fell asleep. Then I picked his brain, so one day I can pick my pen to write an epistle on how his generation fell asleep. The watchmen slipped into coma. Then courage gave way to hypocrisy, weakness mistaken for meekness. The warriors are in shackles of comfort, the just gagged with wealth. The lions shed their mane, watching chameleons take over the jungle as our conscience inches towards extinction. One day, I will write an epistle on how it all began, and begin the epistle with a question: how did we get here? How did we assemble this orchestra afflicted with musical myopia? However did we climb this height of impunity? When we overlook the fact that we goaded ourselves into this labyrinth, in which we have lost the path to utopia and found a symmetry of regrets to bury the relics of our days of glory. So I ask, where are the days of glory? Where are those days nothing went to waste? We made tangible things from things of little worth, like tins of milk recycled to containers for oil, and the big ones reused for storing detergents. Our leftover went to the cage of rabbits beside the vegetable garden kept green by dung from the poultry farm that assured us eggs with our daily bread. How did we arrive at this creek of emptiness where we bleed our land for fortune, spill oil on the future, burrow the earth for wealth, bury our inspiration within? Oil may fuel cars, I know, but inspiration will fuel those who rebuild cars, as the limitation of one generation by another will determine the exaltation of a nation or her limitation. from generation to generation. And this is not a legend. Inspiration is not a legend. Like those days were real. When empty cartons were reloaded to space shuttles and exotic cars that carried our children to the land of their dreams on the shoulders of fathers who washed sweat of labor off their hands rather than blood of kindred, and mothers who needed not stay awake at night, twisting and turning figures on public ledger. Where at those days, daughters were proud of fathers who were soldiers.
Where are those days? Those days. Those good old days. We'll go on a break now, and when I come back, Barrister Yomi Ogunrola joins the podium. Stay tuned, don't go away.
ọ̀rẹ́ wo arákùnrin yìí ó ń ṣiṣẹ́ òòjọ́ rẹ̀ déédéé pọ́npọ́n kébé ní máa ta ṣùgbọ́n lẹ́nu ọjọ́ mẹ́ta yìí madùnmadùn ló máa ń jẹ ní gbogbo ìgbà ó ṣe ń jẹja níjẹ dùndú àkàrà ìpẹ́kẹ́rẹ́ kúlíkúlí àsáró mọ̀rẹ̀sì àkàkòkò mọ́kẹ̀bẹ́ àfi bí ọ̀fọ́n ẹnu rẹ̀ kì í dúró àjẹlùsí ni kò ní gbèdéke.
yóò ní ṣòro.
ó ní ṣòro inú kíkún ní yànmùyànmù bí ọ̀bọ̀nbọ̀n ìṣòro yíyaṣó fà á láwùjọ múgimú àlejò ká sẹ́ńsẹ́ń inú rírun kíkún rájú kankan bí ẹni tí ń ṣe gáàbọ̀ọ̀lì kókó ibẹ̀ ni pé bó bá kẹ́fìn pé inú tiẹ̀ náà ń kùn ìdọ̀tí inú ẹ̀yìn dídùn ọ̀rá pọ̀tọ̀pọ̀tọ̀ dórí èélà tí ò wá déédéé Vita ni kò gbẹlura Vita kárùn kó dọ̀tí àpolòkò.
Amtẹ́tí máa ríra nìwọ̀nyí. Medical Bank Pharmacy, Bembo Àpáta, Top Class Store, Agbeni Market, Real Hallelujah Pharmacy, Yana Bode ní Ọlọ́run Ṣògo, Crown Pharmacy, Challenge Ìbàdàn. Hello.
08021912040.
Vita ó yẹ kó nílé. Tó o bá wá ráyè padà lẹ́yìn ọjọ́ péréte lọ rí dókítà rẹ.
ẹ̀gbọ́n ìjàre mọ́lẹ̀ ọ lọ ìjàre àti pọ́n kékeré kalẹ̀ ọ̀dẹ̀ ní gbọ́ àfẹ́dẹ́ lọ́ọ̀mì ó dàgẹ́ gbogbo owó ẹ̀ ló pé pérépéré.
tí olúwa nílẹ̀ àti ẹ̀kú rẹ̀.
ayé àti àwọn tó mọ̀ tán rẹ̀.
ẹlẹ́wọ̀n gbà.
kò lè má rí bẹ́ẹ̀ onírúurú talẹ̀talẹ̀ ló ń bẹ nílẹ̀ yìí ṣùgbọ́n àrà ọ̀tọ̀ ni Danabits Homes and Properties torí wọ́n fi ni lọ́kàn balẹ̀ àwọn tó ti bá wọn dòwò pọ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀ rí ni wọ́n ti lè sọ àǹfààní tó ń bẹ lọ́dọ̀ wọn àwọn ni wọ́n ń ta ilẹ̀ Victory Estate phase 1 àti phase 2 alábàtà mọ́níyà tí ò kọjá ìṣẹ́jú mẹ́ta sí railway terminal ìfà ńlá tó ni Treasure Estate tó wà ní Ìdó-Lẹ́bàá University wọ́n ń gbèrò ẹ̀ Favour Estate náà wà ní Mòwe tí ò sì kọjá agbára má sọ ọmọ ní ti Joyce Cotton Gardens tó wà níwájú Bethel American International School Ìrókò lójú ọ̀nà Ìbàdàn sílùú Ọ̀yọ́ 550,000 naira péré ni àti bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́ lórí àwọn ilẹ̀ yìí ìrọ̀rùn ló bá dé torí owó wọn kò gara bọ́rọ̀ èèyàn bá wá ní jásí irúsì bàbá Ìjẹ̀ṣà bẹ̀rẹ̀ tètè lọ sí ọ́fíìsì wọn ní Prime Time Plaza ọba Alẹ́ṣinlọ́yẹ́ phase 2 lẹ́bàá Bidin petrol station lálẹ́ṣinlọ́yẹ́ Ìbàdàn sanwó kó gbalẹ̀ lójú ọgán ọ̀fẹ́ sì ní corner piece lọ́dọ̀ wọn àyè san díẹ̀díẹ̀ tún wà níbẹ̀ pẹ̀lú àlàyé ẹ ṣáà ti pè wọ́n sórí 09047797352 tàbí 08188418137 Danabits Homes and Properties àwọn ni wọ́n sọ ilé kíkọ́ dìrọ̀rùn fọmọ aráyé.
ìran tó bá mọ níbà ńlójú nìkan ń dá wò bí ìran bá kàárù bójú bá ti ń wò lẹ́nu náà mọ làálẹ̀dẹ́ rẹ̀ bí èèyàn bá gbọ́ nípa àwọn ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ kéékèèké etí nìkan lẹ̀dá ń lò ṣùgbọ́n tí èèyàn bá fetí gbọ́ àwọn nǹkan tó ń lọ nígbà míì èèyàn ò ní mọ̀gbà tí ó lanu sọ pé èyí tún ga o. Àròjinlẹ̀ ló kọ̀ mí àyàn gidigbo tí ń kó gìbò lu ọgbọ́n ẹ pàdé mi lórí ètò èyí tún ga ní gbogbo ọjọ́ ajé Monday láago 9 alẹ́ lórí ìkànnì yìí 32 FM 94.9 níbi tẹ́ ẹ tún máa gbọ́ iṣẹ́ ìwádìí àrà ọ̀tọ̀ nípa àwọn nǹkan tó ń lọ nílé ayé tó ṣeé ṣe kẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ mọ̀ tàbí kẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ kọ̀bi ara sí bẹ́tí yín bá ṣe ń gbọ́ lẹ́nu yín náà máa jẹ́wọ́ pé èyí tún ga ó dọjọ́ Monday láago 9 alẹ́.
When the people became silent,
the government became oppressive. It's time to lend your voice to politics.
On 32 FM 94.9.
Safa pelisizo simnyama Iwasafa
Isizo saba
Kavula mo
Anitaleni ko Kelize
Wemaye wemodo Safa pelisizo simnyama.
Welcome back to the podium on 32 FM 94.9. I am CHIKE OGBOGU. On the podium this morning, we're looking at Nigeria's independence, 62 years of growth, of stagnation, or of retrogression. Professor Remi Ayede, it's good to have you on the podium this Saturday morning.
Yeah, good morning, and good morning, listeners.
Happy Independence Day.
Same to you.
You're happy, right?
Certainly.
Okay. Barrister Yomi Ogunlola, good morning. Good to have you on the podium.
Yes, thank you very much.
Happy Independence Day.
Well, if there is any reason to celebrate, one of our big brothers said, man was born free, but he remains everywhere in chains. And you want to ask yourself why that is happening. I think that best describes the Nigerian situation today.
Well, we need we have every reason to be happy, even for being alive for 62 years. We should be happy, right? Prof, 62 years. We're supposed to be happy, celebrating, but then we still say the good old days. We still reminisce in the past. Does it seem that our yesterday is better than today?
Not necessarily. After all, there were no GSM phones yesterday.
Okay.
So, I mean, we can talk about that. But basically, we often reminisce about the good things in the past, some of which are no longer available. And that's it. We have very specific challenges now. I think what many people are upset about is that most of these challenges are self-inflicted. They are challenges that we are supposed to have overcome after 32 years of independence. And it's a tragedy that some of them are still happening. Take, for instance, for many of us in the Ivory Tower, we have a big challenge when it comes to celebrating our 62nd anniversary. Because we can't be celebrating when our students are at home, the universities are grounded, and no activity is going on. Not for 2 weeks, not for 2 days, not for 2 months.
For 7 months.
But over 7 months and counting. It's not a thing that we are happy about. And as I tell you, a number of our colleagues have gone with the strike, never to be seen again. And even if we call off the strike today, we won't return to work in our numbers the way we went on strike. So there's a big tragedy. As it has happened to lecturers, so it has happened to students. In fact, I went to a shop and somebody was asking me about the strike, when will we call it off? And I said, look, it's costing us a lot. It's only those in government who have lost nothing. And that's why they can continue the way they are doing. And he said, 2 guys used to come to his shop, and he asked one of them, where is your colleague? And he said that guy is a 500 level student of law in UI, and that he went to Lekki for a job or something, and somehow, whether they went to the beach or so, and he went with the water, never to be seen again. And there are so many similar cases, involving students as a result of this compulsory stay at home.
Okay, Prof, let me allow you catch your breath a little bit. Yeah. Let me move to Barrister Yomi Ogunlola. Prof has said, from his own point of, that is the academic angle, where he says it is a tragedy, which we all know, very evident. We know that. But let's look at your own side. To return to its glory old days, Nigeria must deepen its democracy and invest more in education. There were the times when Nigerian universities were highly regarded globally, and scholars looked forward to sabbaticals in Nigeria. When UCH in Ibadan was among the best hospitals in all the Commonwealth of Nations. The most valuable resource the country has is the people, not the petroleum. However, petroleum has now become the most valuable source, and the people now suffer 62 years after.
Thank you very much, Chike. It is not all doom and gloom for Nigeria. We have a few reasons to celebrate. One, What is that girl's name from Ogun State that represented Nigeria?
Tobi Amusu.
Tobi Amusu. She brought glory to Nigeria. There's another one. I just searched it out, and it is this one. Let me play it for the people at home. Yes.
Well, that's the original song by Kiss Daniel, but that's a parody.
You see, you know why I said that? Because that song is trending all over the world, and it owes its originality to a Nigerian, and so that's why I said at least Nigerians are showing the world what they are capable of doing. But for Nigeria as a country, I wish I had that fella's song here. That song where he mirrored the chaotic situation at Ojuelegba. Moto they come from right, moto they come from left, moto they come from front, moto they come from back. Police no day for center. Confusion that you. Confusion. You see that song.
Confusion Breakbone.
Confusion Breakbone. That song depicts our evolution since independence. We do not appear to understand what it means to build a country, a geographical representation to a nation. What you find is confusion all over the place. We don't even know what we are doing. For instance, we don't know whether we are practicing federalism. We don't know whether it is unitarism. We don't know whether it is meritocracy. We don't know. Everything is I don't know how best to describe it. All right? There is lapse of etiquette in the land. I heard the president talking about fight against corruption, and I laughed. I wonder how, maybe they have not told him the latest from his PDP brothers. Because, you see, ours has always been the fire brigade approach to issues, all right? It has always been a fire brigade approach to issues. We are reactionaries. We do not have plans. When you listen to Lee Kuan Yew, Lee Kuan Yew.
Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore.
And the way they systematically set out to redefine their existence and their evolution and the results that came from it. You cannot but be sad about.
They had a mission.
There was a vision. There was a vision,
and there was a will,
and it was followed with that. But here you can see almost all the sectors of this country are a sorry sight. There's nothing good to write home about. Is it in the medical field, where our doctors are trained with such humongous amounts of money, only for us to lose them to foreign countries upon their graduation? The educational sector is in comatose. You can see what is happening. A country that budgets 100 billion naira for education, only to come out and tell us that it's like a prodigal son. It wasted 200 billion on a feeding program that is not properly evidenced, and so on and so forth. Look at the security aspect of the country. What are we doing? We still have 62 years after a policeman that will stop a driver by the roadside and say, "Show me your particulars." My friend, why are you wasting my time? I will shoot you now and nothing will happen. We still have that. We have not been able to correct it. We still have a police force that does not understand the concept of policing. So if you go like that and look at the economy, a very, very sorry sight.
Nigeria has been a stable democracy since 1999.
So they say.
Yet it has not attained the kind of economic development people imagined would be forthcoming. The country faces acute poverty, youth unemployment, institutional corruption, and a widespread of insecurity. A political expert recently, who is from Lagos State University, Abiodun Fatai, identified poor quality leadership and weak institutions as two issues that has stopped Nigeria from translating its democratic dividend into better economic outcome. And then I want to ask, how true is that?
You see, the very last part of what you read now is the exact bane of this country: leadership and poor institutions. What I have found is exactly what I was saying about Buhari's speech, on independence, fighting corruption, that it has always been the fire brigade approach. We have not been able to institutionalize a process that will make it very, very impossible for anybody to take money belonging to the state. They tried the TSA, and I think at a point the TSA was working, but somehow, knowing Nigerians for who they are, they're finding a way to circumvent it. So the basic trouble we have had is that of leadership and not having our institutions functional.
I was reading what you put on Facebook concerning building institution and building individuals.
Exactly.
These are very contradictory situations that we find ourselves in. Some people say they've built a lot of people.
Exactly.
But we ask, what about the institutions they've built? We can't find any.
No.
And it's also a big challenge that right now as we speak, the international oil market is looking up, and many oil-producing countries are smiling home to the banks. But it is not the case in Nigeria, because we can't even meet the OPEC quota that has been given to us. And even the few that we are able to produce, we have lost a great chunk of it to oil theft. And I was listening to one of the politicians talking about it recently, and he's saying that this so-called oil theft can't happen without connivance of government people, because he says for you to steal oil, you really have to get a ship that will come and bet in our territorial waters, and then take the oil away. And no ship can bet in our territorial water without authorization by the Navy. And so you find that there's complicity from high up there in undermining our economy. And yes, as Parista has said, in fact, I was just looking at my WhatsApp, one of our students who just got inducted yesterday at the University of Metropolitan University, Manchester Metropolitan University, just sent me a text about their induction. I'm saying, but what I'm trying to say is that the country is in comatose or in serious problem doesn't mean that Nigerians are not working hard at their individual level, trying to do one or two things for themselves, in spite of the great challenges that we face. That is why we are also here. We are not giving up. We are hoping for the best. And we also think that whatever circumstances Nigeria is in, it's not peculiar. It's not something that countries have not experienced before. They have even experienced worse situations, and they've been able to come out of it. So we are confident that if we actually put our effort into it, we'll be able to revive this country. The challenge that we have is that not many people are committed to it, especially those who are in leadership positions as we speak. Otherwise, things will not be as bad as they are. We have suffered a great deal of incompetence in the last couple of years, because when you look at the history of Nigeria, I was listening to the comments at the beginning of the program, and we talked about the good old days, because at the onset of independence, Nigerians were very hopeful, and it's not as if things didn't happen. We started very well with major projects, electricity, dams and all the rest in different parts of the country. We even went to the point of industrialization where we have several motor vehicle assembly plants in the country, and we are producing some of these industrial goods and services. And we got to a point in the late 70s and early 80s. That's actually where our crisis began. And we ran into serious debt overhang. And then we got to a situation of serious economic crisis. And we had to restructure, privatize, do all kinds of things. And we thought that we are beginning to look up again by 1999, 2003. If you recall, the governance reform that were instituted by President Olusegun Obasanjo, things were really looking up. We started with the democratic rule. Our National Assembly had issues. We were trying to strengthen it and build it, and people thought that by this time, things would be different. I think our hope has been dashed in the last 10 years or so, and we need to retrace our steps, see where the rain began to beat us for this second effort, and see what remedies can be done at every level. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I was saying that there are fundamentals that we need to address, and that fundamentals will actually dovetail into the kind of change that we expect. And I said one of the first is really our commitment to Nigeria as our own community, as our own society.
Patriotism.
Patriotism is very lacking, especially among those in leadership positions at various levels. You know, I was taking, for example, the health sector, and I said, there is no problem for anybody who has the resources and wants to go for medical care in Germany, in France, in the UK. But what is particularly important is that they must make sure that it's a matter of choice, because our healthcare systems here are also excellent. So if we don't have excellent medical care, and then we think that the only time we can have good medical care is to go to India, then there's something wrong with the way we manage our society, because we must believe in our capacity to be able to do so. You know, the same thing with our educational sector. If those in government think that it's not important for us to have good primary and secondary schools, it's not important for us to have good and effective hospitals, good roads here, that the only time you will get good road is to go abroad, then there's something fundamentally wrong with them. And that's actually where the problem is. Many of them don't think that you need to stay here to enjoy the good things of life.
Is it about they not thinking? Like,
Because it's a status symbol to say that I went to Germany for medical checkup yesterday. They don't think that having it here is good enough. And it's a fundamental thing. That's part of the thing we call colonial mentality.
Exactly.
That you don't think that the best FM radio should be here. You must listen to BBC first. Once you have that mentality, you can't change your society.
Exactly.
Indigenization is lacking.
Absolutely.
Please permit me to add a few more things to what the prophet said. There is just no doubt about it that our rulers have been playing Russian roulette.
Absolutely.
With our lives. Now, if you ask me, where exactly did we upset the apple cart? And I'll tell you. You see, when I look at it, I try to analyze the situation we're in, and I come to one conclusion: the faux pas of our rulers. You see, at independence, like Prof said, we started out very good. There is no doubt about it. You know, we knew the values of having the right infrastructure in place, you know, and so on and so on. All right? But we never adverted our minds to the implications of uncontrolled population. We never adverted our minds to it, because at independence, what was that figure? What was our population figure? And over time, it spiraled. And the government has nothing, absolutely nothing, you know, to control it.
Barrister,
soon enough, please let me make it landing.
You go on. But
Okay.
you see, for years, in the past 20 years, we've been complaining.
Yes.
Every year, October 1st, every year,
yes,
there are issues of, there's a problem, same problem resonating over the years. And we keep saying, this is a solution, this is a solution.
And nobody listens.
Is it that these people don't listen?
It is. That's why I said the faux pas of the leadership.
So if if we prefer solutions and we don't have a listening ear, how then do we solve the problem?
That's actually what I'm talking about. That for you to have a listening ear, people must begin to think about their own community as members of this society. And that's why when a governor comes in, let him show one center of excellence before leaving. That in this particular sector, if you come to your state, you can go to bed and say it is working. We can't be having governors in and out, and we can't point to anything that you understand.
Let me.
That's why I give credit to Ajimobi. That if you look at Ibadan, for instance, you can say the roads improved markedly as a result of intervention in road networks. We want to have it. We want to look back after every 4 years and say, this particular period of time we have this governor, and this is what we have to show for it. And that's how you can make a difference. It's not that you come and go, you say you do everything, and then we are still where we are. So we need to have that capacity to say that at between one period to another, we have rescued one part or one sector of our economy in this state, in this country. That's what we are talking about.
You see, it is not about nitpicking, all right? We're looking at our problems in the face, all right? Now, one other reason why I think we are where we are is the absence of law enforcement. Because, you see, those philosophers of old did a lot of work. What's the name of the philosopher that talked about
Plato?
No. The nation being solitary, nasty, brutish, and poor.
Thomas Hobbes.
Thomas Hobbes, and the device that they came up with,
absolutely,
to rectify that was the concept of government.
Yes.
In other words, a government that is founded on law. They saw law as an instrument of social engineering. Unfortunately, we have failed to apply it as such. We have not allowed the laws to work. We have made some people bigger than the law, and we have devised means to ensure that the legal regimes that bind Nigerians are qualified, such that you now have, like Akeredolu was saying, a couple of days ago, that you have two systems working in the country, one for the privileged and then the other for the downtrodden. If we had allowed the law to work, I am very sure the bulk of the problems that confront us today would not have been there. Like the Americans who say, nobody stops you from doing the crime. But when you get caught,
you could go for it.
You do the time.
And that's what we mean by institution building too.
Exactly.
Let's go on this break.
That's why where we are really missing it.
We'll go on this break, and when we come back, I'll ask Prof and Barrister one question. If they give me answers to that question, then it means there is hope for tomorrow. Stay tuned, don't go away.
baálé mi ẹ̀rí pọ́lọ́n tí ó sọ wá donílé lórí ló gbé yín pàdé iléeṣẹ́ Zenith Real Estate.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni aya mi àánú la rí gbà wá gbọ́ o. ǹjẹ́ ló mọ̀ pé àǹfààní ò fi gbà kan dúró ní iléeṣẹ́ Zenith Real Estate and Properties Limited. bẹ́ẹ̀ bá rẹni tó ṣetán tó fẹ́ kúrò nínú ẹgbẹ́ ayálégbé láìpẹ́ ọjọ́ kó tètè sàmúlò independence promo tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ ní iléeṣẹ́ wọn. ọ̀pọ̀ àdínkù owó ló ti dé bá ríra ilẹ̀ láwọn estate wọn gbogbo bó ṣe Treasureland Estate Alábàtà Abẹ́òkúta pẹ̀lú 75,000 naira, Greenland Estate tó wà ní Alábàtà Abẹ́òkúta 150,000 naira, Achifas Estate tó wà ní Ìdó 400,000 naira, Riobot Park and Garden tó wà lélẹ́kùrú nìbàdàn, Sun City Estate tàbí Kings Pass Estate tó wà ní Alábàtà nìbàdàn. kò tán síbẹ̀ o, àǹfààní plot kan ọ̀fẹ́ tó wà fún gbogbo ẹni tó bá ra plot márùn-ún. ẹ kàn sí ọ́fíìsì Zenith Real Estate and Properties Limited tó wà ní opposite IITA along Ọjọ́ Mọ́níyà Express Old Road Ìbàdàn tàbí second floor Hosanna House along Ọlọ́run Ṣògo Road Abẹ́òkúta. ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ wọn 090-1697-4421 tàbí 090-2247-1477.
máa wò mí bí mo ṣe fẹ́ yín.
Mo ń gbọ́ 32 FM.
32 FM 94.9.
ìran tó bá mọ níbà ńlójú nìkan ń dá wò bí ìran bá kàárù bójú bá ti ń wò lẹ́nu náà mọ làálẹ̀dẹ́ rẹ̀ bí èèyàn bá gbọ́ nípa àwọn ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ kéékèèké etí nìkan lẹ̀dá ń lò ṣùgbọ́n tí èèyàn bá fetí gbọ́ àwọn nǹkan tó ń lọ nígbà míì èèyàn ò ní mọ̀gbà tí ó lanu sọ pé èyí tún ga o. Àròjinlẹ̀ ló kọ̀ mí àyàn gidigbo tí ń kó gìbò lu ọgbọ́n ẹ pàdé mi lórí ètò èyí tún ga ní gbogbo ọjọ́ ajé Monday láago 9 alẹ́ lórí ìkànnì yìí 32 FM 94.9 níbi tẹ́ ẹ tún máa gbọ́ iṣẹ́ ìwádìí àrà ọ̀tọ̀ nípa àwọn nǹkan tó ń lọ nílé ayé tó ṣeé ṣe kẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ mọ̀ tàbí kẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ kọ̀bi ara sí betí yín bá ṣe ń gbọ́ lẹ́nu yín náà máa jẹ́wọ́ pé èyí tún ga ó dọjọ́ Monday láago 9 alẹ́.
ìwádìí bàbá rẹ̀.
FM 94.9.
Safasa pelisizo simnyama Iwasafa
Isizo saba
Kavula mo
Anichaleni ko kelise
Maye wa modo Safasa pelisizo simnyama Iwasafa
Isizo saba
Kavula mo.
As the journey for a new dispensation begins, Prince Wole Adebayo of the Social Democratic Party has brought out his car ready to drive the Nigerian state. He'll be joining us on the podium this morning. The presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party. What are his plans? What will he do differently? How does he intend to fix the system? Why should Wole Adebayo be president of Nigeria? Campaigns have started. We'll be firing from all cylinders here when it is 10 a.m. But before then, I have a question for Barrister Yomi Ogunlola and Professor Remi Ayede. Though we discussed this off air, but I want to ask. Barrister, you give an analogy of philosophers in the 16th, 17th century. They had a template for governance. They had a blueprint. They had a vision for governance. And then in the 21st century, the black continent, the African, let me micro-zone it to Nigeria. We still struggle to understand governance. Is it that we have a problem? Because you can't give what you don't have.
Yes.
What is our problem?
Inferiority complex. That's the greatest problem we have. Inferiority complex. We are suffering from complex problems. You know, if it was not that, then like the Indians, like the Koreans, like the Chinese, we will be very proud of what is ours. Don't forget that before the coming of the whites, there were empires that survived here. Great empires, Songhai, Oyo Empire, and so on and so forth. What made them tick? You know, I think what made them what they were was because they were original. They were original.
They were a people.
They were a people. They understood themselves.
Yes.
They put up very wonderful systems.
They grew at their own pace.
They grew at their own pace. But unfortunately, with the coming of the whites, we lost our identity.
Bringing people of diverse culture.
Let me give you one very good example.
Okay.
Recently, at the United Nations
General Assembly.
General Assembly meeting in New York, we found European leaders, prime ministers, staying in very moderate hotels and going to the venue of the meetings in very moderate vehicles. But come to Africa, we had representatives who, majority of them, were busy shopping around while the meeting was ongoing. The same thing they do here. and they were staying in the most expensive hotels.
Is it their fault?
You see,
while they were going, the people said, "Buy something for us," so they were buying something to show you.
You see, this is why I'm saying our problem is that of inferiority complex. Is it the coat on the man that defines his personality? Of course it is not. I took it up with those people that were, somewhat went after Shetima at the NBA conference talking about his coat, and I laughed. I said, you see why Nigeria is where it is? Why is it that it is the coat on that man that you people are seeing? You are not looking at what he said. Because if they listened to what he said, perhaps somebody would have come out and asked him a question. The guy said if they win, Tinubu will be in charge of economics and he will be in charge of security. And then I was asking a friend of mine, this is if you put a professor, if you put my professor now in charge of Nigeria and you can't give me gun, who is more powerful? They didn't look at that. It took several days before the import of that statement sank into majority of them. You see, so what I say is, it is not the coat on the man. Nigerians are trying to show the world that, oh, okay, this is who we are, by wearing those big, most expensive coats and all that. The people who are performing wonders in the world, some of them even just wear ordinary shirt and trousers.
Absolutely.
Look at Truss. What is she wearing? What car is she riding? But you heard in Nigeria, all of them have gone now. They have started buying bulletproof jeeps and so on and so forth. So
as if that will solve the security problem.
As if it will solve the security problem. They almost killed Uba now, even with his Iran, with all of his bulletproof jeep. You see, so I think our problem has been more of inferiority complex.
Prof, were we ripe for independence?
We were ripe for independence, and I think that's why we say we took off relatively fairly well, and we crashed along the road.
If we crashed, it means we're not ready.
No, it doesn't mean we're not ready, because you have to answer what are the factors that led to the crash. Then you'll find out, because some of the factors are instigated from outside. And that's why what the barrister is saying is very important. But I won't use the word inferiority complex. I will use the word a lack of understanding of modern governance. You see, it reminds me of what I said in my inaugural lecture. We don't understand the offices of the state as a functional offices for the development of society. So if I'm governor today, I think by becoming a governor, I'm already a big man. I am made, I am successful. And so it doesn't matter what I do with that office. That's wrong. The governor is an office designed for some specific purpose. It's not to elevate people, to make them important. No, it's for them to be able to perform certain functions. But we have changed it. So I remember making an analogy to a military governor who got into office, and he said, me, a tapa man in government house in Oyo State, thank God I am made. I'm successful. So that kind of person is not committed to anything, because by occupying that seat alone, he considers himself a success. And we talk about a lady in Imo State, a professor, who was made a vice chancellor, and he went to a village, packed these people around, and they started dancing on the street. That she has become a big woman, she has become a vice chancellor. This is a functional office that you are supposed to run an administration, transform the university, make sure that it is working well and all of that. You have not even started work, you are celebrating. You understand? So that's the problem that we have. So being a local government chairman is not a functional office. For some people, it's an achievement. Being a professor is an achievement. So you can cut corners, do everything to get there. Because once you get there, you're okay. But meanwhile, that office is supposed to represent something, some kinds of performance. And that performance is completely lost on us. So that's why you become a governor, you want to write a bulletproof car. You think that the money of the state now belongs to you, and you are living big. And unfortunately, which is very bad about this society, is that people begin to celebrate you. How can you be boasting that you're a minister of power in Nigeria? And we have this comatose every day, the national grid is broken down, and then you come to the streets and people are lining to celebrate you for what? For failure? Even among the population, we now think that saying I'm a minister is an achievement on its own. But that's not the case. it is actually a functional office. It is what you do with that office that now differentiates whether you are worth celebrating or not. Look at what happened to Merkel. When she left office. Yes. Look at the celebration. You don't celebrate somebody before and while in office. It is what the person is able to achieve with that office that calls for celebration. But here we are, it's not like that. Exactly. So once you become a governor, we must run away from the street when your siren is coming.
No one should be allowed to take advantage of his own,
abuse of office.
His own wrongdoing. A governor that has not performed, we should have a book for them. Like I was saying the other time, I think the time has come. All of these contractors who get our road contracts and do their mess. Yes. Let us put a signboard there and say, Mr. XYZ or company XYZ
builds
this road.
So that we can stone them.
Prof. Barrister, in some months, somebody will be leading Nigeria to her 63rd anniversary. And it's going to, campaigns have started. It's going to be a time for Nigerians, to think and see how to change the guard of honor ahead of the next Independence Day. What do we expect from whoever will be leading the country after the elections to fixing the problem come by next year? October 1st, 2023, we should be saying something positive, right? Right?
Yes. Yes.
So what should we expect from these candidates?
Well, if you ask me, right now, as we have discussed, Nigeria appears to be on the wrong path. So, and if you are on the wrong path, it will lead to nothing but doom and eventually gloom. So what we expect from whoever is aspiring to be in the office is to first and foremost take us to the right path. Because where we are is not the right one. If we're on the right path, everything will fall in place.
All right, we'll go on this break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party. Ahead of the 2023 elections, campaigns have started, so we shall be engaging him. He will be there to give us one or two things, and then we'll see how it goes. Yeah, we'll go on this break. When we come back, I'll read out something for you. Stay tuned, don't go away.
Find it hard to start. How long shall we be patient before we reach the promised land? Let's save Nigeria so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Tell me which way to go. I love my fatherland. Oh, yeah. I want to know. Yes, I want to know. Which way Nigeria? Everything that goes wrong, we start to blame the government. We know everything that goes wrong because because we are part of the government. Let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. Inefficiency and indiscipline is ruining the country now. Corruption here, there, and everywhere. Inflation is soaring high. Let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh, sure, sure. I want to know. Yes, I want to know. Which way Nigeria is heading to? We made mistakes during the oil boom, not knowing that was our doom. Some people now have everything, while many, many have nothing. Let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't fall. Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. Yes, I want to know. Which way Nigeria is heading to. Green revolution is a reality. Let's give it a chance to grow. Let's join our hands to farm the land so we can have enough food to show. Let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh sure. I want to know. Yes, I want to know. Which way Nigeria is heading to? Our ambition to be millionaires is running the country down. We all want to be millionaires and to live in the end. Oh, let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. Yes, we want to know. Which way Nigeria is heading to. Remember that a simple step is the beginning of a million miles. Let's start right now to repeat ourselves so as to make the country smile. Let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh sure. I want to know. Yes, I want to know. Which way Nigeria is heading to? Heaven and earth.
All right, welcome back. It's the Podium on 32 FM 94.9. And it is time to engage our guest. Our guest on this segment is the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, the SDP, Prince Adewale Adebayo. Good morning. It's good to have you on the podium, Prince Adewale Adebayo.
Good Independence morning, and congratulations to 32 FM, to the audience, and to the rest of Nigerians and friends of Nigeria.
All right, happy Independence Day.
Day.
Happy Independence Day to you, sir. Greetings from Barrister Yomi Ogunlola here and Professor Remi Ayede in the studios here.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning to my regular customers there.
All right, quickly, let's start firing from all cylinders. Our campaigns have started. Now it is time for you to tell us why you want to become president and what you do differently. Why Adewale Adebayo vying for the post of president, Federal Republic of Nigeria?
It's very clear that only few of us don't know what the problems are. Maybe there are one or two, especially those inside the villa now. Maybe they don't know what the problems are. but we all do know what the problems are. And our problem is what in science is called anthropomorphic problem. A problem arising from human factor. Therefore, because our problems arise from human factor, you need humans to solve it. And I've taken time to study these problems, and that's why I want to be president. And that's why I'm the best of the 18 people available now. I'm not saying I'm the best Nigerian, but I'm the best of the 18 people who are contesting now to be president, because the things that we lack are basically that this country will manage to run away from the truth. And we are not able to do justice. And as a result, there is no peace in the land. And when I mean peace, it doesn't mean that absence of war. It means that between the ruler and the ruled, between the servant and the served, between government officials and the government, there's no peace. Everybody is trying to undercut and undermine the system. So I think that my campaign so far has injected some truth into the country, things we don't want to talk about, truth, including how the government is not living in truth, is throwing away our money, stealing 80% of our crude oil, at the same time saying that our economy is in a parlor state. The issue that we have not lived up to Chapter 2 of our Constitution, we are not really a government envisaged in that Constitution. We're not really a government that is devoted to the welfare of the people, the safety of the people of Nigeria, the security of the Republic, and that's why I'm just narrowing it down to simple messages, farewell to poverty and insecurity, and paying attention to truth, justice, and peace in the land, from which we can now make some progress. That's basically what I think I can contribute. There is nothing that you can say in terms of economic development, in terms of revenue generation, in terms of expertise, that Nigeria doesn't have. We've made a lot of money, and I'm telling you, we're making a lot of money. And many countries that our citizens admire and run to, they're not making as much money as we're making, but we are not running a government as envisaged in our Constitution. And once I'm elected, then you start to see for the first time anyone who has been alive since maybe as far back as 1980 will be seeing government for a good government for the first time. And that's basically what we're trying to do.
Okay, I know before you want to do something, you must identify the problems, the root cause of these things. What 62 years, Nigeria is 62 years today. What is the root cause of the problem that you want to come and fix if you become president?
The root of the problem is the law of agency. Government is about representation. And for you to serve in government, you must be conscious of the fact that you are a representative. You are an agent. You are a servant. These things don't belong to you. It's like a caretaker who forgets that he's not the owner of the house. So he gives the house to who he wants. He charges any rent without consideration to value. And the rent that he collects is just spends the rent. He doesn't maintain the building. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't give accountability. He just runs the whole house down. So that's basically the issue. There are differences in terms of the competence or competencies of different people in government at different times. There are people who are lazy, not hardworking, who are hardworking. But overall journey since 1962 has been that after 1966, we have a bit of it even from 67 to 75. Yeah, a bit of it for 6 months, 75 July to February 76. It's just little pockets. But for the rest of it, there is no display of that fiduciary duty of an agent. When you know that you owe a duty of loyalty to the person who appointed you, that is the people. You owe a duty of fidelity and accountability, so that you give a good account of resources made available to you, including time spent in office. Because the time you spend in government office is the time of the people. So in terms of lack of conflict of interest between the people who are in government and the Nigerian people, or the Nigerian state, or the Nigerian Republic. So, and to show diligence in the doing of the work. So anyone who wants to be a good leader has to understand the principles of agency. And I do understand the principle of agency. I've been an agent all my life for my clients, for representing people. I've been a trustee in many places. So I know that you cannot be a trustee or an agent on a subject you are not familiar with, or something you cannot show diligence in dealing with, or something you cannot give accountability when you are asked to give accountability, and you cannot have a conflict of interest where your interest supersedes that of the people who put you there. And that's what is lacking. There's nothing complicated. If you want to build roads, we have enough experts to build roads, and there are experts all over the world who can hire to build roads. If you want to launch rockets, satellites, there are people who do it. If you want to educate children in Nigeria, we have enough teachers who can train more, we have potential. What we lack is that general understanding of the purpose of government, the nature of government, and what it means. That is why someone in the city where you are broadcasting from could say it's a constitutional authority. You know, that statement alone shows to you that despite the person's education, despite having spent many years in politics, in the Senate, in governorship, despite all of the training, he still didn't understand that the constitutional authority were those people asking him questions. He thought he was the constitutional authority. And that is emblematic of how decisions are made in various fields. So government people believe that you owe them loyalty, they reverse the whole thing. You are the one to explain to them and things like that. You know, someone was just telling me the anecdote of something that happened not in our party. One of my competitors, somebody ran against him in their primaries of their party. Later they went to congratulate him after he won. And he was quarreling with the person. Why did you run against me? How dare you? Just like that. So that sense of entitlement that he thought it was his family property, that a member of your party should not run against you. So that all of these things, when you accumulate them together, is the reason why we have missed 62 years and we have missed 62 million opportunities. Okay. And this is what we need to get right now to get it right.
Okay, Barrister Yomi Ogunlola wants to come up with his own questions here.
Yes, Wale, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning, sir.
I hope you are in Nigeria.
I'm in the capital of my country.
Oh, that's very beautiful. Now, let me ask you this very taxing question. Many see you as an upstart, not having been in government before, and secondly, that the platform upon which you aspire appears dwarfed by the influence of the two major political parties, that is APC, PDP, and their supposed structures. Now, how do you intend to demythologize these dialectic obstacles on your way to Aso Rock?
These are not the obstacles in my way to Aso Rock. The obstacle in my way to Aso Rock is the gap between the potential of what I can do for the country and the knowledge of it by the Nigerian voters. So all these people and their chariots don't make a difference in what we are doing here. This is a David and Goliath situation. You just have to get the sling and make sure that the sling hits the forehead. and the sling is the PVC. So, what we need to know is that all these structures don't make a difference to a hungry man who has no food in the stomach. People's politics, everybody's politics, should be defined by the situation they find themselves. So if you are somewhere in Ibadan, there's no water to your house, there's no road to your house, you walk in first of Ibadan, the school is closed, people are on strike, your father has not collected his pension, you yourself, you collected your salary and you go to the market, you are almost in tears because there's nothing to buy with that kind of money. You are stuck in traffic all over. And then you discover that those who are responsible for these things are using it to build political empires. For every 1 hour they work for you, they work 23 for themselves. Why are you sympathizing with me about my political party and the size of it and all of that? All you need to know is that this decision you are making is based on your own situation in life. Why would a jobless man not vote for me to get jobs? Why would he be interested in interrogating the structure of my party? How is that relevant to the situation you find yourself? If you're a farmer in OGBOGU and many of your family members have been killed by bandits and gunmen, why is the structure of my party relevant to the discussion? If you are a student and you cannot graduate and you are forgetting what you've learned because the government is diverting all the money and wasting time with ASU, how is the structure of my party relevant to the discussion? You only need to get your PVC and look for the White House and put your thumb there. You must know the issues. Everybody votes according to their interest. The businessmen who are giving money to all these big parties, they're not giving money because they love them. They are giving money because they want to have access to public funds. So when government cannot fund education, they want the government to be paying trillions for subsidy with their own money. When government cannot keep us secure and run the simple police station, they want government to be spending billions, creating fake centers in the name of security. All these security votes that they are spending, it is they and their so-called businessmen friends that are sharing the money. So you should know your own politics. Yes, that is what I am here to say. It's not about building a political empire. It's about letting us know that these are the problems we have. And the solution to these problems is to vote these people out. And to vote them out, the size of their office building, the number of senators on their campaign council, all of those things, the number of vehicles that are rolling on the street, is not relevant to the issue that's affecting you. There is no big political party in Nigeria because they cannot solve the big issues. They cannot even solve the small issues. So it is a direct interaction between my message and the Nigerian voter. You need to ask the question, what I am saying, does it represent a true state of the affairs of Nigeria? Secondly, the solutions that I'm offering, are they realistic, practical, and genuine? 3, do I have I displayed the character, commitment, and competencies that you need to know that this person knows what he's talking about? Then after that, what is the problem between you grabbing your PVC and looking for the White House and putting your hand in the ink and thumb printing? If you do that, you are voting for progress. If majority do that, we have won the election. These measures don't mean anything.
Now, Wally, just before I go, I have another question because I know...
Yeah, before you ask that question, we need to go on a break.
Oh, okay.
We'll go on a break now. And when we come back, questions from Barrister and Professor Emiaede will be served to you. Hot, hot.
Ọlọ́run ló pàṣẹ fún wòlíì rẹ̀ bàbá àdúrà AK-47 láti ṣe ìṣọ́ òru alágbára fún gbogbo àkọ́bí.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni o, gbogbo àwọn àkọ́bí ọmọ tá a fẹ́ máa wojú àbúrò ká tó máa jẹun láyé. Ìpàdé lórí òkè àdúrà náà mọ̀ wọ prayer mountain Apátẹ́rẹ́ Ìbàdàn. Òru àwọn àkọ́bí náà kò ní ìṣọ́ òru alágbára ńlá yìí o. Aago méjìlá ọjọ́ Sunday October 2 mọ́jú ló máa wáyé. Ọlọ́run ló pa aláṣẹ fún wòlíì Kẹ́lẹ́ Bolúládé. Bàbá àdúrà AK-47 láti tú omi ànúlẹ̀ àwọn àkọ́bí lórí òkè àdúrà. Ogun àkọ́bí ogun burúkú àjàmọ́wẹ́yìn. Ogun yẹn máa ṣẹ́wọ́lẹ̀ lórí èmi àti ẹ. Máa bọ̀ fúnra rẹ̀ wá bọ̀ nínú ogun. Ẹ̀yin òbí ẹ máa bọ̀ pẹ̀lú àkọ́bí ọmọ yín. Àṣírí àjàbọ̀ méje. Lọ́nà àkọ́bí ọmọ àfi lajú akẹgbẹ́ rẹ lọ. Ní bàbá àdúrà máa sọ fún wa lóru àwọn àkọ́bí. Bísí aláwìyé. Ìlàjà Kìtúndé Ọlọ́run ò sọ bẹ́ẹ̀. Bọ́dé Paul ọmọ abúlé gbogbo wọn ló ń bọ̀. Tẹ́ bá ti dé jí òkú. Ẹ̀wọ̀n mọ́tò tó ń bọ̀ lápátẹ́rẹ́. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń gbé mọ́tò yín bọ̀. Kìnì ogún ìṣẹ́jú péré ni lórí òkè àdúrà. Fẹ́kúnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé. Ẹ pè 080-664-81455.
lórí ètò òṣèlú ẹ pàdé Peter Ọlásùpọ̀ Captain P2 pẹ̀lú àwọn ọ̀jìnì olóṣèlú tí wọ́n máa gbà lálejò láti mọ ibi tí nǹkan dé dúró lórílẹ̀‐èdè yìí àti ní ìpínlẹ̀ wa lórí ètò òṣèlú nílẹ̀ yìí kó ipa tirẹ̀ nípa gbígbọ́ ìkànnì 32 FM 94.9 ní gbogbo ọjọ́ ajé Monday láago 11 sí 12 ọ̀sán ètò òṣèlú àjọ máa gbọ́ ni.
Egbògi kan ti délẹ̀ yìí egbògi àtẹ̀jẹ̀ ṣe ni ó dára fẹ̀jẹ̀ gidi gan Veneto cleanser ló ń jẹ́ o. Veneto cleanser ló ń jẹ́ o.
ojú rẹ̀ ṣàǹjọ̀lọ̀ lójoojúmọ́ kí làṣírí ẹ wà rí.
Veneto cleanser ní
jámi sí ọ̀rẹ́.
Veneto cleanser egbògi àtẹ̀jẹ̀ṣe tí bàdọ̀ tí ara wọ̀ yá ìjà rẹ̀wọ̀n mọ́lẹ̀ ṣe wọ́n yẹbẹyẹbẹ inú tó ń kú tó ń dàrú gbòdògbòdò kò bára rẹ̀ èrí inú ẹ̀jẹ̀ amọ̀nà ti dé o. Veneto cleanser egbògi àtẹ̀jẹ̀ṣe tí a fi ewé àti egbò ṣe ní ọ̀nà tìgbàlódé NAFDAC fòǹtẹ̀lù ME1 Nigeria Limited ni wọ́n gbé Veneto cleanser jáde a wà ní nọ́mbà 17 ọba akínyẹlé off Adeogun Street Aláàfin Avenue Olúyọ̀lé Estate Ring Road Ìbàdàn telephone 08034051533 fún títà àti rírà ìwọ náà darapọ̀ mọ́ wa Veneton cleanser àmọ̀tẹ́kùn egbòogi tí ń ya gbogbo kòkòrò inú ẹ̀jẹ̀ wẹ́lẹ́wẹ́lẹ́.
32 FM 94.9.
Safasa pelisizo simnyama Iwasafa
All right, welcome back. We still have with us the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Adewale Adebayo, on the show this morning. We'll be looking at some of these issues, looking at the party manifesto. Prof, before we engage him,
please permit me to ask him this question, really, so that before we leave the issue, we can, you can quickly take this up, with us. Is he still there?
Yes, I guess we'll have him. He's back. He's back with us.
Yes, nice to have you back, Wale. And I really enjoyed your response to that first question I asked. And so, as a follow-up, I have this other question. Your response to that first question appears to suggest a Nigerian voting public that has become as politically conscious, as your answer suggests, particularly given this environment where vote buying and selling appears intransigent. So I am asking, is the Nigerian voting public as politically conscious as that answer of yours suggests?
If they are not, they will be by election day. Because nobody can pretend that he doesn't know that Nigeria is not sustainable as it is. Nobody can say, maybe with the exception of the few, 1% who are in power, 99% of Nigerians know that if one more thing goes wrong in this country, we cannot survive it. The number of hungry people will increase by December. far more than we have now. So we have all these problems. We cannot now assume that the voter is so heartless to themselves that if they are told clearly that this is the implication of not having good government in Nigeria, that they will still prefer to take 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira, or 20,000 naira when they can see that the inflation is at hand. I believe that the system has not been agitated as much as this in the past. And we will expose them. So I believe that this is the year that the voter has to vote according to their understanding of the issues. So I don't have any constraint when it comes to explaining to the Nigerian people the implication of voting according to bribery. So I think the people are getting the message.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Prince Wale Adebayo, quickly, let's go to the manifesto of your party, and we'll look at it one after the other. Meanwhile, on our Facebook page, Wale Okediran on Facebook says, what is the financial strength of the aspirant to run successful campaigns throughout the 774 local governments of the country? And that's his first question. And says, what is he going to do differently in our judiciary, legislature, executive arms of government? And then the third question is, has he any plans to restructure the country? Those are the questions from Facebook page there. Okediran Babatunde there.
Well, first, the candidate is not in proper politics supposed to be a money bag. So it's not the candidate who will spend money in all the 774 local governments. I'm not the only person in the party. We have governorship candidates, we have Senate candidates, we have House of Representative candidates, we have House of Assembly candidates, we have volunteers in the party, we have members. It is a rule in the Social Democratic Party for every member of our executive, from ward level to local government, to state level, to zonal, to national. You must contribute to the party monthly if you are a member of the party. We are not like PDP or APC, where you go and collect money from the party. In our own case, you have to give money to the party. We are not like Labour, where they went to look for one money bag who's pouring money into them. No, SDP is not like that. It is not as if the candidates, speaking of myself, cannot afford to make contribution, which I'm making contribution, but the party did not give me the presidential ticket based on how much money. You will recall that one of the people contested against me owns one of the largest banks in Nigeria. So, and is chairman, managing director of his own bank, and has been on the board of many banks, and he still owns his own bank and pension fund and all of that, pension management firm. But it's not that. So what the party is looking at is someone who they can present with Nigerian people and will look fresh, will have good ideas, and have the competence and have the agility to do the job. Now, what I'm going to do on judiciary is independent of me. And all I need to do is to keep that independence and make it real. I don't have any intention to touch anything in the judiciary other than, one, to make corruption impossible. And the executive branch is where I want to tackle. If there's no corruption in the executive branch, the judiciary would take a cue because they cannot escape. Nobody can escape corruption without the participation of the executive branch.
Okay, what of restructuring? He says, do you have plans of restructuring the country? Okay, we can barely get any feedback from you.
The government is corrupt. Something to better processing. We need to restructure so many things. The whole essence. In order to even achieve truth, justice, and peace, restructuring is required. In order to achieve efficiency and efficacy, restructuring is required. In order to gain speed over long time, restructuring is required. In order to give underserved communities a sense of balance, restructuring is required. So restructuring is mandatory. That's not an issue at all.
Okay. I guess that question has been dealt with. Now, let us go to the manifesto of your party. Your manifesto says when it comes to the issue of electricity for all, you got to a point. You said, within 5 years, our party shall eliminate the monopoly of the federal government in power supply and devolve responsibilities thereof to states and the private sector. This will go beyond the current IPPS. And then I want to ask, how do you intend achieving that? First of all.
Well, I'm the right person for that. I'm already doing that. For example, I'm independent of the government myself in my establishments. I have solar farms from which I generate electricity. I have trained lots of people in that sector. And what the Social Democratic Party is saying is simply this. The federal government can make contribution. States can make, local government can make, and individuals can make. And this is not complicated. A Nigerian person a private person in Nigeria who puts solar panel on top of their roof is generating electricity. And if you are generating 7 kilowatts and you have like 1,000 of you, that is 7,000 kilowatts, that's 7 megawatts. So there is no way you would not have a solution to the problem. If 1 million Nigerians have solar panel on their roofs of 7 kilowatts each, you are far more than what they have achieved since independence. So then imagine states like on the maritime belt, all of them having floating badges all across and things like that. So we cannot do this integrated power project. They can be doing that as a backup, but that is not going to be the mainstay. So to develop it, and all these bogus agencies that they are creating, whose mission is to regulate everybody and sit down in one place and slow everybody down, it's not going to be done. So, and I've given copious examples of my own direct involvement in terms of power generation in ongoing projects. The evidence is there. You can Google them online. You will see so many power projects I've been involved in. So this is a practical thing. I believe that in 18 months, you start to see changes in terms of electrification, in terms of systems that are developed. And you start to see communities getting up. You have to see street lighting. You can go to Ondo City and see what we are doing there, and you will see that it is doing.
You see, your plans are very lofty, and they are nice ideas in an ideal society. However, are you ready to fight against the cabals within the system that will militate this from coming to fruition if you eventually become president?
And it's not just whether it's ready to fight the cabals. How is it going to get people, to key into this initiative and abandon the tendency to grab from government officials?
We're already doing that. That's why people are asking us all these sympathetic questions. We're already doing that by not having a capitalistic campaign. That's why we don't have a bogus campaign council full of all the people who know where the grudges are buried. So when you are funding police council and armed robbers are the chairman of the council, you know that okay, no crime will be detected here. So the first thing the candidates can do before you get to government is to run a campaign that is independent of those who are causing the problem. So you have to form a cabal of your own. The cabal is a continuum, but you have to join them, and you have to now give them part of your terms for the cabal to exist. That is what they have been doing so far. So you will keep changing individuals, but the people running the government remain the same. Those who are collecting subsidy money under Obasanjo are still the same people collecting subsidy money under Yar'Adua. The people who collected subsidy money under Jonathan, they're the ones still collecting subsidy money under Buhari. So these things don't change until you change them. So my basic thing is that right from now, as we are campaigning, we are not using their money, we are not flying their plane, we are not doing expensive things, we are not begging them for money, we are not hanging around them. But just for me, it's not as if we are going to chase people out of Nigeria, but we don't want to owe people money. We don't want a situation where you get to the Eagle Square, where you're supposed to take your oath of office. You look at all the benefactors who have put you there. You say, I belong to nobody, I belong to somebody. I belong to nobody. Your mind will be there. So this is where we are starting the journey from. So if the Nigerian people now allow us to take them along on this journey. So instead of you waiting for me to collect money from the troublers of Nigeria and come and share the money to you, then you rather do the opposite and use your money and do a few posters for us and post in your neighborhood. You will talk about it, you will make a contribution. When I say that we must say the truth in Nigeria, it's not only the government that needs to say the truth. The Nigerian man who says he wants a good country for himself must be capable of letting your action and your participation in politics to say the truth to what you want. You cannot say you don't want cabal. At the same time, you want an expensive politician. An expensive politician will collect the money from the cabal. You cannot say you want someone to give you money to attend the rally. That money is also coming from the cabal. So we have escaped that. And once the president himself and the people working in the presidency don't belong to the cabal, and they are not trying to become emergency billionaires. Sonny Okosu sang about the quest to become emergency millionaire was part of the reasons why Nigeria was floundering. Now they want to be billionaires. I'm even hearing of a few who want to be trillionaires. So this is the problem. So we'll deal with it. I don't have any problem handling a cabal because I don't owe them anything and I don't get anything from them.
Okay, before Prof comes to you, let me go to Prof's constituency now. In your manifesto, you came up with issues of education, and you say there will be free, compulsory public primary and secondary education. Scholarships will be provided, and all that, and all. It went on about 7 plans on education. Then the question I want to ask you before we go to each of these plans: ASU has been on strike for 7 months. If you were to be the president of Nigeria, what would you do to eradicate strikes, industrial actions by the ASU as a group? And then what would you do to improve the quality of education in Nigeria?
First, if when I'm president, ASU will not go on strike. Because ASU is not irrational. ASU is 7% one strike. They love the job. That's why they took it. How I know they love the job is that the majority of people who are members of ASU have alternatives. They just love teaching. The professors who taught me when I was at IFE are still teaching now. And they have been lawyers before I became a lawyer. And it is very lucrative to be in private practice. If you look at the face of Oga Yomi there, you will see that law practice is very, very lucrative.
But it sounds okay.
But you will see that these people still remain lecturers, receiving salaries which we are even paying our own secretary in the law firm. So we must do the love of the job. The same thing with professors of medicine. These are experts in various fields, geology, whatever, arts, whatever it is. So they love the job. The problem is the government. And when I was in the university, there was a genuine problem with the economy. And with the Jubil Aminu was Minister of Education, they would say, well, ASU is right, but we don't have the money. ASU came up with the money in the Education Trust Fund and said, this is how we can fund education independent of government claim of lack of money. What did the government do? Immediately the money got to 75 billion. They went overnight and amended the decree and put the Education Trust Fund under the Ministry of Education. So all I need to do is do opposite of what people are doing now. And you believe that when I am president, Nigerians will not know the name of who's the ASU president. ASU will be discussing their own issues by themselves. Because government role in education is the cause of the conflict. So all I need to do is to ensure that to become a champion of the university, I will start to do adjustments to salaries and everything before I also ask for it. I will also ensure that the governing councils of universities are the highest authority making decisions for the universities. The Minister of Education can not only be an external champion of curriculum development, external champion of infrastructure development, raising funds for the universities. I don't think the university will have a problem with whether I'm there, because I don't see Ministry of Education as a pool of funds that will use the money to do politics. I see education as vital.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Now, you also talked about the government role in compulsory, free, and universal education at the primary and secondary level. And I'm just wondering whether you are very familiar with the state of that level of education in Nigeria, given the fact that it's not the responsibility of the federal government. So how do you hope to ensure that state governments buy into this policy and that they have the resources and apply it for that purpose?
It is not correct to think that the federal government cannot ensure that every child is in school all over Nigeria. In fact, it's part of the Child Rights Act. So it's also part of our constitutional requirements. And the first national primary education program was a nationally run one. So all over the world, every level of government knows that entry level is important. We will not run schools, but we will run programs through those schools. Because I cannot be running universities while allowing millions of young children not to be enrolled in pre-K or enrolled in universal primary education. Where will I get my undergraduates from? Where will the federal government colleges get their primary school students from. So a National Council of Education is going to be very active. And I believe that my vice president, I've told him, has to make sure that he gets all the numbers right and ensure that every child is in school. So there are many dimensions to the education of children. There is the issue of neglect, because if you are supposed to put a child in school and that child is not in school, it's already a criminal offense. It means sustainable goal target. It's already an international problem with UNESCO, UNICEF, and all of that. So the beginning of life is as a child. So federal government cannot be indifferent to that. But we will do it with programs to ensure that we bridge the gap. For example, you have a state school. Why can I not have nutrition program that ensures that from that nutrition program, I can know that this child hasn't come to school? And I can intervene with. So those are the programs. The only problem is that these are not areas that are attractive to politicians. And they are not areas that are attractive to donors, sponsors of politicians. Because when you spend money on social services, the money actually has to reach the people. It is not like you're trying to construct a road and you call a road that you could do for 10 billion, you call it 50 billion, and you claim 40 billion and you still don't do the road. When it comes to school, you have to pay the teacher. The teacher will shout if it's not paid. You have to feed children. The children, when they are hungry, they are going to talk. Their parents will talk. So these are the reasons why the government has so far tried to abandon the social sector. Education, healthcare, sanitation, and all of that. So we will not allow that to happen. But I know that complementarity is required because education is concurrent. The reason why the federal government doesn't have primary education is because, one, the entry level is low. You can easily set it up, so local government can set it up. Secondly, the intervention that you need, you cannot micromanage schools all over the country, but it is not illegal. It is not unconstitutional for the federal government to invest in primary education.
Yes, thank you very much, Wale. Now, let me ask you another question, because I think we have focused so much on domestic politics. Now, Nigeria recently signed a gas supply agreement with Morocco in an attempt to buy into the present effective demand of the product, given the shortfall in supply as a result of the war in Ukraine. Now, do you see this agreement as a blessing to Nigeria? That's number one. And then number two, what will be your foreign policy direction if you are elected Nigeria's president?
Number one, it goes without saying. Gas supply agreement with Morocco will always be a good thing. Gas supply agreement with anybody will always be a good thing. Why? Because we have enough gas to power the whole world for 30 years. We have more gas than the entire. Our gas reserve is 30 times the size of the U.S. economy right now. So we have it in abundance. So what I will ensure is that in any gas sales and purchase agreement that I sign with any country would deal with winning the gas and willing the gas. And Nigeria should not assume that if gas is supplied to another country, it is the gas that's supposed to be supplied to you that is going to them. No. We have enough gas to last us. If we were to consume our gas alone, Our gas will last us than 3,000 years. So we don't need to worry about our gas supply. But when it comes to our foreign policy, but let me even say one about the gas. The problem with the gas so far is that even on the LNG, we are going to the H train, is that there's no accountability. The way they are stealing 80% of our crude is even easier to measure than gas. So they are stealing a lot of the gas revenue. That is why our country is not looking like Dubai, not looking like Oman, it's not looking like Kuwait or Saudi Arabia. So we need to understand that signing agreements with foreign countries, with any off-taker or our gas is good, but what is even better is making sure that the money actually gets to the with respect to our foreign policy. Our foreign policy will always be based on bilateral understanding with partners, multilateral respect for agreements with all international institutions and the international community. But the focal point will be an externalization of our national interest. Our national interest, as I identify it, is the stability, integrity and stability of Nigeria, the security of the state and the safety of the Nigerians, and the abolition of poverty, and bringing peace and justice to the country. And any international objective or international engagement that promotes this, I will pursue. Anyone that threatens this or damages this, I will not pursue. The Nigerian is the focal point of our foreign policy, the Nigerian. So if I'm invited to come to any country, I will ask myself this question: how does this benefit Nigeria? How does it benefit Nigerians? So I won't be like some of our leaders who will compromise our national interests because they are hoping to win Nobel Prize in something. Compromise our national interest because they want to be invited to the board of other people's projects when they leave office. Who will undermine our national interest because they want to say, that white man there is my friend. Or who would undermine our interest because they want to build a career in international institutions. We will not do that.
Okay, we'll open the phone lines now. Dear listener, you can join this conversation. You have questions for a presidential candidate, the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Prince Wole Adebayo. You can join the conversation on 0705 5000 949 and 0809 7000 949. You can also call +234 906 2000 949. Okay, Babatunde says, hopefully, if you get to Aso Rock and you are confronted with realities of massive problems confronting the country, how do you intend solving the problems within 4 years, especially the current insecurity issues we have in the country? That's coming from Wale Okediran. Okay, Babatunde Okediran. Okay, there. And then
there is no problem that is there to discover in Aso Rock. I think it's part of the excuses they are giving. I've been to Aso Rock many times. There's no problem there. They are whining and dining there. They are fine. The problem you are going to confront is between Eleyele and Bodija. Is between Felele and Apata. There is no problem in Nigeria. It's not on the street. You don't need to get to Aso Rock before you know that they are killing people in Okeogun and chasing them out of their farm. And you need to go to Aso Rock to discover that. You don't need to go to Aso Rock to know that children are out of school. And there are some teachers who are teaching students in Ibadan there, earning 15,000 a month. And they are using 12,000 to pay transport. And they still have to live in a house.
and they are supposed to be teachers. You don't need to go to Aso Rock to discover that they are stealing more than 90% of the money the country is making, because you can see the thieves celebrating the money on the highway. So what are you going to Aso Rock to discover? You only go to Aso Rock to discover excuses. You don't need to go to Aso Rock to know that they are inflating the amount they are spending on subsidy. You don't need to go to Aso Rock to know that military officers are becoming billionaires and Boko Haram is bulletproof. They don't die. Do you know how many times they kill Shekau? So you don't need to go to Aso Rock to discover that. There are many things I am discovering and talking about now that President Buhari gets to know only because I'm talking about them. You don't go to Aso Rock to learn anything, because it's a prison yard.
Prince, no politician should be talking about water any longer. Nigerians now own their own corporation. Either they have boreholes or wells, or visit neighbors to get water. A Ministry of Water Corporation should even be scrapped. Don't you think so? Because I don't think it's relevant any longer. People build their houses.
We are living dangerously.
Yeah.
All those boreholes are graveyards of the future. It gets to a point where you will do it. First, you will dislodge your aquifer. Secondly, you have created a lot of holes all over. And the earth is not what you think it is. The earth is a ball moving in space. So it's always vibrating, always moving. And it gets to a point where it will move and you will have tremors and quakes all over. So we can't do that. Secondly, it is getting more expensive to drill. And not everybody can afford it. And it is more natural to develop a water supply system. It's not that complex. It's just the only problem with water supply is that there are 1 million steps you have to take every day to keep it flowing. And we are not people who pay attention to details. So the actually water dam that you have in Ibadan there was designed to last about 30 years. So you are supposed to go there, desalinate the place, sieve the basin of the water, then continue to find other water sources, and then check things regularly, check the pipe. So if Bola Ige laid pipes, those pipes don't have eternal life. You cannot rely on Bola Ige pipes up to now. It means that the government of Ajimobi, by the time it goes to Ajimobi's time, or even from Lamadeshima's time, you will start to lay new ones. You don't go for the old one to age. But when you build the stadium, it doesn't mean that the stadium, because it's made of brick, doesn't need maintenance. So the problem
we have
in the company. So we need water to be publicly supplied.
All right, thank you.
So you can have private contribution to it along the line.
All right, thank you for featuring on the podium this morning, and we wish you the best of luck as you move ahead during your campaigns, trying to occupy the #1 seat in Aso Rock.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Though it's very short, but I'm grateful.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure here listening to you.
Oh yes, same here. And this is wishing you the very best. I hope Nigerians who are listening to you can see the difference. I have been telling a lot of people that what we need now is a new wine in a new wineskin.
All right, hopefully we do that. Okay, the quest for the #1 seat in Aso Rock is getting intense in the southwest. The Afenifere, led by Payo Adebanjo, says the Yorubas will go the way of obedience, voting for Peter Obi of the Labour Party. The Afenifere Renewal Group, led by Honorable Olawale Osun, says the Yorubas will go the way of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC, two dissenting voices from the region of the country. The propaganda has begun. Politicking is in the full glare of the public. Join me next week Saturday as I host Pa Ayo Adebanjo and Honorable Wale Osun. Let's hear their views. Let's see what they want to tell us next week Saturday. Thank you, Barrister, for featuring on the podium this morning.
Always a pleasure.
And thank you, Professor Yeremia Ide, for featuring on the podium this morning.
Yeah, it's great to be here today.
Up next, Ace, coming to do Ijao Dollar. I worked alongside Lucky Ikechukwu Thomas and Moriyanoluwa Akinola for the production of this morning's edition of the Podium. Until I come your way next week, Saturday, enjoy your day, happy independence, have a fruitful weekend, and a wonderful week ahead. Bye for now.
We can bet that you've never listened to radio like this before.
You can